friend, welcome to a channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing an email that one of you guys sent to me. Now this person wants to remain anonymous, so I'm not gonna give out their name or anything, but still, thank you so much for sending this to me. But I found it absolutely fascinating. Rodan and Fields is kind of trying to change some stuff up a little bit, and I'm thinking, you know, with everything going on in the world right now, with consultants acting irresponsibly and kind of disgustingly, these MLM companies are honestly just trying to cover their asses. I don't have a date on when this email was actually sent, but this follower of mine sent me this yesterday, so I'm assuming it's pretty new. But anyway, let's go through it together. A lot of this is not actually new information, but a lot of it is. So basically they just took a portion of their new and updated policies and procedures and just like emailed it to their consultants, and they're like, hey, you have to make sure that you know all this shit. So it's fascinating to me because a lot of it I didn't know, and a lot of it I didn't really expect was a thing. So by the way, this message was sent from reply@marketing.rodanandfields.com. That sounds real, right? I mean, why wouldn't it be? Anyway, Rodan and Fields message from R+F. Dear consultant, Rodan and Fields is making upcoming revisions to the policies and procedures effective as of May 6th, 2020. This is in addition to the revisions that went into effect on April 1st, which I'm not really sure exactly what those were. It is your responsibility to be familiar and comply with these policies and procedures. The list below highlights the major sections that will be modified, but your full review is required. New language is in bold and underlined. Thank you for your attention to these changes, and please contact compliance@rodanandfields.com with any questions. So I think it's important to remember that when you're looking at this, new things that they've added are the ones that are bolded and underlined. Everything else, I guess, has been in existence. And when we go through this, you'll see that sometimes there's just like one or two words. So they've just added a few little key terms that change the definition of everything that's going on in their legal documents. So Section 5, Consultant Requirements and Restrictions, which by the way, also, I'll link it down below too, but there is a 80-page policies and procedures document from Rodan and Fields if you want to read through it and find all this for yourself. But I didn't want to read 80 pages of legal mumbo jumbo, so unless you want to, you know, go for it. A consultant enrolled as an individual may apply to convert. Now, convert is a new word. Her or his consultantship to a corporation, limited liability company, partnership, or similar business entity. To effect such, the business entity must, now this is a new part, be beneficially owned by the converting consultant immediately following conversion and thereafter. Which this all makes me wonder, like, what is going on in Rodan and Fields where they feel like they need to specify that. Okay, so the original policy and procedure on this, according to this Rodan and Fields document, says a consultant enrolled as an individual may apply to transfer her or his consultantship. They changed that one singular word to convert. Why? Because they both kind of mean very similar things, but I guess in legal terms, maybe someone let me know what the difference is there. Okay, now this part's new. List all members, partners, beneficial owners, etc. that are part of the business entity. So you can change your single, like, consultantship, it sounds like, to an LLC or, you know, whatever, but you can have like more than one owner at that point. But each proposed member of the business entity must fill out an independent consultant application and meet the eligibility requirements prior to taking beneficial ownership of the business entity. So like, I guess if someone was married and they wanted to make a joint business, their spouse would also have to sign up to be a Rodan and Fields consultant. So that's weird. But the reason this was really interesting to me was that this reminds me a lot of Herbalife, and I've never seen Rodan and Fields do this, but if this has been in their policies and procedures, like, that means that someone has to have done this, right? So for example, with Herbalife, we've all had to have seen these by now, right? So like, you see like a place advertising fitness and nutrition shakes and stuff like that, and you walk in and it's just all Herbalife, but obviously they don't have like the signage to tell you until you walk in. Like, you have no way of knowing unless you walk into the place. So it sounds like you can do that with Rodan and Fields. So like, I mean, you would have to be a doctor or something though, right? Oh, I don't know, maybe you can just set up shop and just sell Rodan and Fields stuff. I didn't get to the part actually that really reminds me of Herbalife. So owners are responsible for the conduct of their employees, contractors, or agents, and will be held accountable for any violation of the consultant agreement including the failure of their employees, contractors, or agents to adhere to these policies and procedures. So if you hire someone from the outside, they basically, I mean, they're kind of owned by Rodan and Fields as well too. They still have to act like a Rodan and Fields consultant. They're not allowed to go outside of the policies and procedures. Okay, so this is the part that I was familiar with as far as Herbalife goes. A consultantship that is a business entity may not use any trade name, business name, or DBA, doing business as, that includes any R+F trademark. So this is how it is with Herbalife places. That's why, like, you wouldn't know that it's an Herbalife place until you walk into it, because they're not allowed to use Herbalife in any of their branding and their like logo and stuff, but they're using the products. So, which is really interesting to me, because like, you're a brand, right? It's like they're hiding their brand, you know? It's like they're ashamed of it or something. Because yeah, it's like if people know all the dumb shit that's involved with Rodan and Fields, just like they do with Herbalife, like they wouldn't walk into the store, you know? I don't know if there's any other reasons for that. I don't know why you can't just be like, we are perfect skin of Rodan and Fields company or something like that. Like, they're not allowed to do that, which to me is pretty sketchy. Like, and especially if I were to go to a spa, see an esthetician, and they start whipping out Rodan and Fields, I'm gonna be pissed. But anyway, here's where it gets really interesting, because I just have a hard time wrapping my head around, does this really happen that much? But anyway, okay. Additionally, converting a consultantship into a business entity shall not be used as a means to transfer the consultant account from one party to another. Please note that Rodan and Fields will not approve a request to convert a consultantship to a business entity if the intention, whether express or implied, is to achieve an improper sale/transfer or to line switch. Now, line switching, this is why I even pulled up the policies and procedures on Google in the first place, because I didn't know what line switching was. Line switching. Each consultant may only have one sponsor, and no consultant shall sponsor or attempt to sponsor any person or entity that has already submitted a consultant application as applicable to Rodan and Fields, or that has had a consultantship terminated within the preceding 6 months. This practice, known as line switching, is strictly prohibited, as is any attempt to circumvent the prohibition of line switching through the use of pseudonyms or assumed names, a spouse's or relative's name, trade names, DBAs, business entities. A consultant is not permitted to encourage, offer, or assist any other consultant to change sponsors or uplines. Under no circumstance shall any consultant offer or provide any financial or other consideration or incentive to another consultant in exchange for such other consultant's agreement to terminate her or his existing consultantship and reapply under another sponsor. So a sponsor would be the upline. If two consultants both claim to be the sponsor of an applicant, Rodan and Fields shall regard the first consultant application received as the controlling consultant application and shall designate the consultant listed as the sponsor on such consultant application and the applicant's sponsor. Resolving disputes between consultants regarding claims of sponsorships or other consultant is extremely difficult, particularly when a downline organization is implicated. Rodan and Fields reserves the sole and exclusive right to determine the final disposition of such disputes. Therefore, consultants waive any and all claims against Rodan and Fields, its officers, directors, owners, employees, and agents that relate to or arise from Rodan and Fields' decision regarding the disposition of any downline organization that is implicated in a dispute between consultants regarding claims of sponsorship. Okay, that's a lot to take in. The fact that they even have to have a definition for this, I'm like, okay, so line switching. So if I was a Rodan and Fields consultant and my husband was like signed up under me as my downline, he could not then go back and try to sponsor me in his downline. Like, does that make sense? Like, you can only have one sponsor. But I'm like, what situations have happened to where they feel like they need to put this in their policies and procedures? I don't know. It's fascinating. Consultant business practices, they basically just added some business restrictions if you're a business entity. But I found this part interesting, and this isn't new, but I wanted to talk about it anyway. And I feel like I've heard this with other MLMs too. So once a consultant is terminated, and 6 months after, the consultant will not directly or indirectly solicit any Rodan and Fields consultant or any Rodan and Fields employee for engagement as an employee or as an independent consultant, contractor, or distributor of any direct selling, network marketing, or social selling business, nor will the consultant solicit any Rodan and Fields employee to become a consultant of Rodan and Fields during this period. So if you sign this consultant agreement and you just spent, the past year with Rodan and Fields advertising what you were doing with that company on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and stuff, you cannot then quit and then immediately start trying to get people to join whatever new network marketing company you join. But yeah, they're just like, hey, our people are our people for at least 6 months and you can't try to steal them for at least 6 months. It's just weird. Furthermore, if you achieve a certain level with Rodan and Fields, once you get there, they basically take away all your like incentives, like your bonus trips, any sort of opportunities if you are with another. So like I couldn't be with Rodan and Fields at this certain level and then also Young Living. Like I would have to choose between the two, which kind of sucks. Maybe that's a common thing in MLMs or any company in general. Like they want you to be able to commit, because once you reach a certain point, like you should be pretty committed already. That was all just added to this. So they're really just laying down the law here, like you can't be with any other MLM or you don't get your incentives. But I just wonder what's going on that made them have to specify that, you know? Now, no matter what level you're in, and this is new, if you're a consultant with any other MLM, you have to tell compliance with Rodan and Fields. You have to send them an email and tell them, hey, look, I'm also selling Young Living or whatever, no matter what your level is. So Rodan and Fields is like, we want to know what the fuck you're doing at all times. You're also not allowed to sell training materials to your downline or other consultants while you are a Rodan and Fields consultant. I think it's interesting that they threw this in the email, that even though it's not new, they really want to make sure that their consultants are aware of this. But it basically says, during your consultant agreement terms, if you are trying to partner with a charitable organization with like donations or proceeds going here and there, Rodan and Fields is like, you need to tell everyone that this has nothing to do with Rodan and Fields. We don't sponsor this, we don't promote it, don't bring us into your shit, basically. Now this is really interesting too, because underneath this it talks about selling or transferring your consultant agreement. Now that we know, you know, you can be a business entity as well. I mean, you can sell a business, right? You can sell an LLC. I just never thought that you can sell, like literally sell your downline. Sales and transfers of a consultant agreement. A consultant may not sell, assign, or otherwise transfer her or his consultant agreement without the prior written approval of Rodan and Fields. So again, I couldn't just transfer my downline to my husband and then rejoin underneath him to give him more levels of compensation and stuff. I'm assuming that's what it means. I don't know. Someone you should clarify that. Like if you have any idea what line switching might mean and you can more clearly define it than I can, just let me know down below. If I decided, hey, I don't want to be a Rodan and Fields consultant anymore, and I have a downline that's worth something to someone, I can literally sell it. Like, that's crazy. And maybe I'm just naive and maybe I'm not educated enough on this, but I had no idea that this was a thing that you could do. Now, there are other criteria that they have to meet depending on their level in the company. And then basically they just added that if I have an upline and I'm like, hey, I'm selling my business to someone else, you just have to inform your upline in writing, which I guess is fair. If the person who's buying it is already a consultant with a downline, they basically have to leave behind their existing downline and then assume the one that they just bought, which is so crazy to me. It kind of just defeats the purpose of, like, when people are always saying like, oh, I had to work so hard to get my downline. It's like, did you? Because you could have just bought it. I guess just the idea that someone might have a downline that they didn't even work for, they just handed cash over for, that's crazy. Anyway, that's the end of this email here. I just thought it was interesting information. Not that it was necessarily, you know, new and game changing or anything, but I just think it's interesting that this came out now during a time where they really need to be covering their asses, and I think they're just really making sure that they don't get caught up in the legal troubles that other MLMs are having right now. Not even just MLMs, businesses in general. But yes, thank you, a follower of mine who sent me this and forwarded this email to me. It's all very interesting and I learned a lot, and I hope you did too. As always, I gotta let you know I got merch. It's linked down below. I feel like there should be no obligation on your end to buy anything if you are financially struggling right now. I understand. So if you can't afford it, please don't. I don't want to be pushy at all. But if you feel like it, everything's down below. Check it out. It helps support me. It helps support the channel. But obviously, I am not expecting anyone to. If you don't want to, it's totally fine. But if you do, send me pictures when you get your merch because I want to see it. Today, we have Pop-Tart joining us. Thanks for watching, guys. Smell you later. Keep making waves. Okay, bye. She's pissed. I love you.